Every time a bridge collapses, a building fails, or an essential water system breaks down, we ask the same question. Who was in charge? And how could they have let this happen? What if the person in charge was not a villain, not a rogue agent, but a celebrated self-made genius? What if the mistake wasn't a flaw in the plan, but a flaw in the man himself? Today, we dive into the catastrophic failure that exposed the fatal pride of the man who built Los Angeles. On the Anything History channel, we are about to get into the story surrounding the St. Francis Dam catastrophe, a disaster that came from having too much pride. The date was March 12, 1928. Just before midnight, the people of San Francisco Canyon were asleep, secure in the knowledge that they lived downstream from a 200-foot wall of concrete, the St. Francis Dam, holding back 12 billion gallons of water. They were unaware that within minutes, their entire world was about to vanish. At 11:57 p.m., the dam suddenly gave way. A massive roar shattered the night as a 50-mile-long tidal wave of water exploded through the canyon, traveling at nearly 80 miles per hour. It leveled everything in its path, from massive power stations and bridges to tiny family farms. By sunrise, hundreds of lives were gone. Bodies were found scattered all the way to the Pacific Ocean. It was and remains one of the deadliest civil engineering disasters in American history, and the man behind the design was once known as the Water God. The Water God was William Mulholland. Born poor, self-taught, he was a giant of the early 20th century. He was the engineer who dared to look at a desert town named Los Angeles and decide he would turn it into a global city. His masterpiece, the 233-mile-long Los Angeles Aqueduct, completed in 1913, was an impossible feat. It brought water from the faraway Owens Valley through hundreds of miles of desolate landscape. Mulholland was a hero. He defied nature and won the West. He became an untouchable legend, the one man whose judgment was beyond question. But success without accountability can be a dangerous, blinding thing. When the city needed a new reservoir, Mulholland designed the St. Francis Dam himself. He trusted no one but his own genius. He commissioned no outside engineers to review his plans. He changed the dam's height twice during construction without properly reinforcing its base. And most fatally, he ignored the geological warnings that the canyon's foundation was composed of ancient, unstable landslide rock and soft red schist, stone that would literally liquefy under constant pressure. By the morning of March 12, 1928, the dam was already crying out. Operators noticed muddy, debris-filled water seeping through the concrete, a clear sign of a foundation failure. Mulholland personally rushed to the site. After a brief, prideful look, he dismissed the fears. He said the leakage was normal and returned to Los Angeles. 12 hours later, his masterpiece and his legacy collapsed. When dawn came, Mulholland arrived at the ruins. He stood silent, staring at the destruction. His public admission was direct and haunting. "Don't blame anyone else. You just fasten it on me." He accepted moral responsibility, but the investigation that followed revealed a more complicated truth. The dam was built on unforgivably weak rock, and Mulholland, blinded by his own reputation, had ignored every warning sign. It was not a construction error. It was a design error rooted in arrogance. William Mulholland was never charged with a crime, but his career, his hero status, and his spirit ended that day. He resigned in disgrace and spent the rest of his life in isolation, haunted by the more than 400 lives lost. He died in 1935, 7 years later. The city he built gave him a modest funeral, and the name William Mulholland, once a symbol of triumph, became a whisper of tragedy. The true lie of the St. Francis Dam wasn't a word spoken in malice. It was the silent, dangerous belief that one man, no matter how brilliant, could command nature without consequence, and that his judgment could never be wrong. That is the Water God's lie, and it is a lesson the world should never forget.